Welcome everybody back to TubPreneurs. Very excited today to have Dr. Kyle Konas with Shift Health Center in the tub with me, talking a little bit about how he got started, kind of coming to an unknown area, knowing nobody, and now building his practice to pretty large size now. You added some doctors and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
So as we kind of talk today, Dr. Kyle is going to be sharing some of his wisdom on how he's worked to systematize his business and really grow it from the ground up. So welcome, Dr. Kyle.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad
Absolutely.
to be here. It's a great setup.
So we'll kind of start with, tell us a little bit about how did you decide to get into chiropractic?
Well, at first, I guess I'll start. I always knew I wanted to help people. I was a personal trainer in undergrad, and then I thought I wanted to go the physical therapy route. And truthfully, went all the way through school, did all the schooling there, and then when I got to the end of undergrad, I did my capstone senior internship at a local physical therapy office in Kalamazoo.
Okay.
And hated it. Didn't like it at all. So it was just a lot slower pace than I wanted. It was just not really what I thought it would be or what I was looking for. And so I was trying to figure out what to do, and I was working at a GNC at the time, and I was personal training, and actually a guy came in and I was helping him with some supplements, and it turned out he was a chiropractor, but he goes, "What are you doing working here?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You seem like you should be doing something else." And I was like, "Well, this is my story. This is what happened." And he's like, "Well, I'm a chiropractor and I wouldn't trade it for any other profession, and I love it." And he's like, "You should go home and apply tonight." And so I just went home, started looking into it. I'd been to chiropractors growing up, but never considered it as a career. And that was that. So
wow, okay.
Within the next year, I was down in Florida at school. So
that's pretty cool. And so you go through the schooling, and by the way, for all of the folks out there, I mean, chiropractic, it's a doctorate. Yeah. Like a lot of people don't realize, as a chiropractor, you're actually a legit doctor.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yeah, you pay for it too.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah. So you go to chiropractic school, and then what happens after that? You go to an internship, or what happens from there?
Yeah, so I did an internship at the end with a mentor of mine down in South Florida in Naples, Bonita Springs, and learned a lot. I knew I wanted to open my own practice, and so I frankly just worked my butt off through school, and I spent all my weekends going and shadowing other offices and working marketing events for other doctors and doing it for free a lot of the times just to get repetitions and gain knowledge. And so just worked hard at it and had that goal of opening right when I graduated. So
okay, and so you graduated, and is that when you moved up to Traverse?
Yeah, like 4 days later after I graduated. Wow. Yeah.
So you moved up to Traverse. Now you probably had a pretty big network in Traverse, right?
No. Didn't know
not at all.
Not a single soul, not one person. Yeah, I'm from Brighton, downstate, and my wife's from Kalamazoo, so we didn't know one single person here when we moved here.
So how coming in as a new doctor with, I'll say like the type of chiropractic that Dr. Kyle does is a little bit different from what I like to call your snap, crackle, pop every time adjustment.
Yep.
Where he's a little more focused on the cervical, right?
Yep.
And using some different methods. So you're coming into a new town, you know nobody.
Yep.
It's a method that really at the time nobody else was doing up here. Mm-hmm. How did you make that work?
There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, it was all grassroots marketing. We didn't have a big marketing budget, so my wife and I went to every networking event that was in the Traverse area. We would go to any event that let us set up a booth and talk to people about what we were doing and try to pre-schedule appointments. We did lunch and learns all over the city where we'd go into businesses and corporations and bring them lunch and just talk for like 10 minutes about what we're bringing to the area and try to get people excited about it. And we moved here 4 days before Christmas. We started networking like January 2nd, and then we opened in June. So we had like 6 months of networking, and we ended up opening with around 225 new patients pre-booked for appointments.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That probably helps pay the bills a little bit, at least.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Led to a good growth, a good start.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you're getting started, you're building this network. What were some of those things that you did networking that maybe some of our listeners could kind of jump in if they're looking at doing something new, going to a place that they don't know?
Sure. I would say, well, I mean, first of all, I'd say different is marketable, and so if it's funny, in Traverse City, right, it's like the town of professionals because everyone wants to live here. So attorneys, real estate agents, doctors, right? There's a million of us here because we get to choose where we go. So I couldn't tell you how many times I'd be at a marketing event and they'd be like, "Oh, good, just what we need, another chiropractor." And,
We do have a lot
thanks
of
for the
them
vote
there.
of confidence. Yeah, so that was always nice and discouraging. But I mean, just keep going, just keep moving forward. And the truth was, we are different, like you mentioned. So I don't care that there's 30 plus chiropractors here. It's that we do something different. Generally, still only like 10% of the population regularly sees a chiropractor and takes care of their spine. That means there's a lot of room to grow, and so I wasn't going to let that deter us. But the fact that we can market ourselves as different from the traditional chiropractor is super helpful. Super helpful.
Absolutely, and that's actually something that in one of my favorite books, and I'm not going to say what it is yet because I'm pretty positive that Dr. Kyle's going to say it when we get around to the book section here. Yeah. But it talks about, as far as your 3 uniques, what are the things that set you apart? And as you're starting to go into business and you're starting to maybe build new networks and go into unknown territory for you, but maybe something where it's high, there's a lot of other people that do what you do, you have to find what are those things that actually set you apart. Why would people want to go with you versus somebody that maybe they've known for years? Yep. So you had a lot of overcoming that.
Yep.
And you started the business how many years ago now?
We just had our 4-year anniversary a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so a couple years into your business, 2 years, you're having a lot of growth and everything, and something happened, some big pandemic or something, right?
Yeah, minor.
So just a little one. How did that affect your business, and how did you kind of adapt to that?
I mean, it affected us for sure, big time. But we, obviously new procedures had to be in place. We're not having people in the waiting room, so we're checking in from the parking lot and the masks and all that fun stuff. So it was certainly a challenge, like it was for everybody. I don't think it was easy for everybody except for maybe Amazon. I don't know. But besides that, it was tough. We dipped in volume, probably about 50%.
Wow.
Maybe 60%. Luckily, that was really only for, I would say, March through May. And then we just shot after June, and we've never looked back, and we've grown like crazy since then. So, yeah, I mean, we had to put different things in place, but it, in the long term, it didn't phase us. Yeah.
And that's surprising, actually, that you guys dropped, because I know for me, when COVID came around and people started to get scared, there's a lot of drugs you can take to help you with a lot of things. But at the end of the day, having a strong immune system is most important, and chiropractic helps quite a bit with that, right?
100%. Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, it was a little frustrating. I mean, we won't go too far into it, but I was hoping it would be a wake-up call for people to improve their health, because it was very clear, no matter what, the healthier you were, the less risk you were for having any serious complications.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, we can all agree on that. So it was very disheartening, I guess I would say, for me to see the choices people were making during that time, where instead of, hey, gyms, we should be at the gym, we should be exercising, we should be getting adjusted, we should be, getting out, getting sunlight, vitamin D, socializing. We know these things literally are important for human health, and we're just banning all of it. And so that was tough to see. And instead we're spraying these carcinogenic chemicals on everything we touch, and you're already starting to see cancer rates rise. I predict that's going to continue to happen in the coming years due to this.
Man.
But it is what it is. I mean, some people made certain choices, some people made others, but a lot of good still came out of it, I think. So
So you talked a little bit and touched a little bit on kind of the standard operating practices that you put in place. How have those SOPs affected your business, and how important were they to the overall growth that you're experiencing?
Oh, huge. Well, let me first say we didn't have those in place when we started. That was probably the biggest learning curve I've gone through in terms of entrepreneurship and leading a team and things like that. Is starting out with essentially like 3 employees, Now we're at 11. So
Wow.
so having that growth, tripling, over tripling, almost quadrupling our size in 4 years, we definitely realized that was a huge weak spot, a huge blind spot for us. Because when there's only 2 or 3 of you, it's like, oh yeah, we all know how to do that, and it's in our head. We just know how to do it. All of a sudden, you hire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more people, and you realize that's not okay anymore. And you gotta have these systematized efforts in order to scale, or it's never going to happen. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be hectic. That flows over to other aspects of your business, and it's not good. You're going to have a drop rather than the ability to scale quickly. And so that was something we had to learn pretty fast.
So with those SOPs, I mean, what are some things that, like, a lot of the listeners to TubPreneurs are upcoming entrepreneurs who have maybe recently taken that step or looking to take that step, or just small businesses in general that maybe are looking at hiring their second or third, maybe even first employee.
Yep.
What kind of standard operating procedures should they have? Like, what do they need to have an SOP for?
Everything.
Everything.
How to write your
I was
name.
hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, how to write your name on a sheet of paper. Yeah, literally everything. Like, you think it's so monotonous and you think it's common sense. So here's a really good, just at our last quarterly meeting, which was just at the end of June, just a couple weeks ago, my office manager did a great activity where she asked all of our employees to submit instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So everyone had to submit instructions, right? Of course, everyone thinks it's common sense, grab 2 pieces of bread, jelly, peanut butter, whatever. She used that as an illustration. She followed the instructions literal to a T. If it didn't say what side of the knife to grab, if it didn't say how to put the bread together, do you put the jelly and peanut butter together or opposite sides, it didn't specify, so you just guess and do your best. And that was a huge eye-opener for our team, and it was pretty hilarious, obviously, but, some of the things that we ended up with is, like, that's the importance. You have to think, anyone who's reading this has no idea about your business. They've done it for the first time. They're at a preschool level, if you will. It's something maybe we've done 1,000 times. You have to break it down to that level if you want to bring people in quickly and scale, or, again, you're going to have a lot of issues.
And that, TubPreneurs, I hope you really hear what Kyle's talking about here, because that is so, so, so important. I know in the course of running the business that I ran for the last 4 years, I saw this over and over and over again. If it's not written down and crystal clear, the things that you think are common sense are not. And even if it is, common sense ain't that common. So you have to have it written down, because at the end of the day, you can't really hold anybody to a program. You can't hold them to a standard if that standard has not been effectively communicated.
That's right.
Now, one of the other things that, and I'm going to throw this one at you, we didn't discuss this beforehand, but sure, I'm going to guess that you guys probably have values and maybe you have a vision set for the company.
We do.
Can you talk a little bit to how going through those exercises has helped to shape the culture of, or shift the culture of Shift Health Center now, and what role that's played in it?
Yeah, core values are huge. That was another learning curve I had to make. It was like, as you grow, your culture can easily change and shift if you're not extremely mindful of that. As you bring more people in, there's more opinions, there's more personalities, and you have a lot less control, and that's a little unsettling when, in my opinion, our culture is what has made our business. I mean, our culture is what makes our practice. And so we have core values. We have 5 core values. I will tell you this, the number one thing you can do with your core values is to hire based on them. Mm-hmm. That is the most important thing. Agreed. So anyone listening, if you're kind of new to hiring, you're building a team, that was a mistake I've made as well, was not doing that. You are looking for the right candidate, not the best candidate or not the most qualified candidate for any position that you're hiring, and they need to fit your core values. You can train skills, you can't train core values. So that was a huge mistake, we've made in the past, and we've got that pretty dialed in now, which has been awesome. But you have to use those, and if you don't, easily your business will stray. And as we all know, one bad employee can quickly turn a good employee to a bad employee as well. It just spreads throughout the company. So those are huge. And then vision, of course. Vision is the guiding purpose that we make all decisions through. So my admin team, our leadership team, there's 3 of us on it for for our organization. It's myself, my office manager, and our production manager, and we make all the decisions for the company based on our vision and our core values. Those are the filters in which we decide what route we're going to take and how we're going to move forward and how we're going to expand. So
it probably makes those decisions a little bit easier too, to kind of be able to look at and go, is this aligned with our vision or isn't it?
Yes.
And you don't get distracted as much by the shinies.
I was going to say, it keeps you from getting distracted, and I'm super guilty of that, and that's why this was so important for me, because I'm like the big picture, like visionary role, whereas Jen, my office manager, she's like the integrator or the COO, if you will. And so I'm really good at like, hey, this is a great idea, we need to implement this, so just go do it. And then everyone's like staring at me like, what do you mean go do it? I'm like, it's simple, just go do it. Jen's like, no, we need to have training, we need to have an action plan in place. So she can take my ideas and break them down. Because I, like, as soon as I think of one thing, I'm like, all right, go implement that. And then I'm like, go to a seminar and I'm reading books and I'm learning and I'm like, oh, we need to do this. So I go on to the next thing. So it keeps me focused and dialed in, which is super important as well.
And that's so important, guys. As you're building out your company culture and building out where you want to go with this company, there are always going to be those shinies that come into play of, oh, what if we go this direction? Or, oh, what if we go this direction? And at the end of the day, if you get really crystal clear on what the vision is for the company, what the mission is, why is your company around, what's the purpose that it serves on a grander scale than just what you do, it is going to be so helpful in helping you to know and narrow in your sights on, okay, does it go with our vision? Yes or no? If it's no, cool, we're not going to do it. If it's yes, cool, let's do it. Is it the right time to do it? Yep, let's go. And you guys can figure that out so much quicker. So as we talk about that, I think this is a good segue into, really, you guys are going through a shift right now. And I don't mean to use that as to be punny all the time, but I mean, you really are.
It's a good word.
From, when I met you, you were just getting started,
Yep.
Shift Chiropractic, to now there's this Shift Health Center and something bigger is coming along. So can you talk a little bit about how that's been going and what that is and what really helped get you there?
Yeah, so the reason we did a slight rebrand there, which we just did over the past few months, because initially we were offering our specific form of chiropractic care, and that was the only service that we offered. We've since launched a peripheral neuropathy holistic treatment program, which has been amazing. It's been one of the most fun things we've ever done. We've had amazing testimonials, people getting out of walkers, wheelchairs. If you don't know what neuropathy is, it's a debilitating disease that's progressive and chronic. Really, on the medical side, all they do is just throw a bunch of pills at you and there's no cure. So it's been really cool to do, but because of that, of course, there's the the preconception, oh, I saw your stuff online, but you're a chiropractor, so actually I'm not coming in anymore for your neuropathy treatment. And it's like, all right, let's get away from that, because it's two totally separate, things that we're doing at the office. So that was one of the reasons that we tweaked that. And I'm like a obsessive learner, so I never stop, and I probably won't ever stop. And so I do need to stay focused on what we do, but our mission is to help as many people live a drug and surgery-free life as possible and reach their ultimate potential. And so in order to do that, I was like, there's these people with these issues that are not getting answers and not getting solutions, and I have a solution, and so we need to figure out how to help people and how to make that happen. And so going through that rebrand, we're also moving into a new location that I recently purchased, so we're renovating that, and that'll be kind of like the big relaunch there, and potentially one or two other services we're able to help even a bigger population, which I'm really excited about.
So you saw a need,
Yep.
and obviously there was something that you knew that where a lot of folks weren't getting answers, and I've seen this a lot. Honestly, there's not really, I'm not going to say a bigger proponent out there for chiropractic care than me, but I'm a pretty big proponent of chiropractic. I love chiropractic care.
Yep.
And I've seen in my own life where I'm not the healthiest guy out there.
Sure.
I'm overweight. That's probably my biggest one. I'm overweight in a big way, and that affects a lot of things. But my immune system's actually really healthy, and I attribute a lot of that to continued chiropractic care. So as you're going out there, you're kind of talking about the mission of Shift to help as many people as possible, and you were looking at that and going, man, here's something where everybody's answer right now is drugs, maybe surgery,
Exactly.
and more drugs. And you said, well, wait, there's a natural, unintrusive remedy that can help people, and we're going to go into that and help with that.
Yeah.
So can you talk maybe a little bit to the person that's maybe sitting out there, and I know, guys, we don't always get into the specifics of the business too much, but I think it's important to talk about chiropractic care and what the basis of chiropractic care is, and kind of the a brief synopsis on the legitimacy of chiropractic care, because so many people are like, well, I'm going to go to chiropractic care when my back hurts, and hopefully they don't break my neck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I've heard that so much. So
Yep. Can
you talk a little bit about what chiropractic care actually is and actually does, and how you actually help people?
Yeah, I'd love to. I appreciate that. So here's the deal. There's two ways to look at chiropractic in my mind, in terms of what it can do. One, if you even look at it from a pure mechanical standpoint. So, and what I mean by that is just a mechanical structure, bones, tendons, ligaments, posture, that type of thing. The evidence is so clear, thousands of published studies, that the better that is, the better health outcomes that we have. So there's a study published where they looked at hundreds and hundreds of people, and they looked at all of these various markers and like health outcomes, and do people have diabetes? Do people have cardiopulmonary issues? Like these really severe disorders.
Yeah.
And the other thing they looked at was their sagittal plane alignment. And what I mean by that is, if you look at someone from the side, are they nice and straight where their ear is over their shoulder, over their hip, or are they kind of bent over into what we call like the nursing home posture, right? So the crazy thing is they looked at diabetes, cardiopulmonary issues, all these things. The number one strongest predictor of poor health was the poor sagittal alignment. Those people who had the poor sagittal alignment and were starting to fall over into that nursing home posture had worse long-term health outcomes than the people with diabetes and these heart issues and all that. So just that alone, I mean, it tells you so much. Also, your sagittal alignment, it's also a predictor of future dependent care need. And what I mean by that is going to a nursing home. That's part of the reason they call it nursing home posture. The further, more deformed you get into that, the more likely you are to end up in a nursing home and need long-term care. So just from a mechanical standpoint, I mean, it's a huge deal. There's actually a study that was coming out this month. I don't think it's published yet. I actually got a sneak peek into it when I was at a conference earlier this year in the Journal of Sports Rehabilitation. So if you're an athlete or you like sports, for every, they were looking at forward head posture, and they ran these college athletes or current college athletes through a multitude of physical drills, and they separated them into people who had abnormal forward head posture and had regular head posture. And the people who had regular head posture actually had a 9 millimeter increase in their vertical over these hundreds of athletes that they tested.
Wow.
And they had about a half second faster T-cone drill time, which is a big deal. So, I mean, if we're talking things like NFL Combine and all that, I mean, that's literally worth millions of dollars difference in draft position. So those things are big. And then if we talk about the nervous system, you know, every nerve from the brain goes through the spinal cord out to all the rest of the body. If we have any misalignments, we can not only impinge on nerves, but we can send our body what's called the fight or flight. That's where the immune system comes in. If we're in that stress state, our immune system drops, our digestive system drops, and we have a lot of issues there, and the body can perceive those misalignments. So if we can get those corrected, the body doesn't perceive any damage internally. We can get into what's called rest and digest. That means, you know, normal blood pressure, normal digestion, stress hormones are down, so all those good things.
So it can kind of be more of a holistic approach than just, because the one thing I didn't hear you say is, we treat people with back pain.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because that's so many people, and I used to get a bunch of crap because I would always be advocating for chiropractic. Yeah. You know, and one of my buddies used to always joke with me. He's like, "Yeah, you break your arm, John, we'll say go to chiropractic." You know, like you got shot by your buddy, go to chiropractic. Yeah. And it's like, well, I mean, obviously there's things it can't fix, but at the end of the day, there's a lot that just having your body in alignment, in balance, can really help with the overall, not only just health of your body, but health of your mind. Like you talk about the fight or flight. And if you guys remember when we had Kenneth in the tub, we talked a lot about that, the fight or flight, and mentally what that can do. And what Kyle's pointing to is misalignments within your body can actually send you into that fight or flight as well. Right. And I think it's a big reason why so many people are walking around stressed and pissed off and, just going crazy all the time.
I mean, one of the most common things we see all the time on re-examinations as patients are starting care with us is sleep improvement. It's all the time. And they don't come in for sleep issues typically. And they're like, this is the weirdest thing. I've been sleeping better. Is that a coincidence? And that's it. It's turning down the fight or flight, turning down the stress system. Your body can actually take a breath and relax. So, yeah, it's big.
So for an entrepreneur that's maybe just getting ready to get started, or they're in the beginning stages of their life, what's kind of one of those things that you wish you had known back when you got started that might be able to help some of these folks as they kind of go out and start their own business?
I already mentioned a few, man. Core values and vision, having that stuff nailed down is huge. And not just having it written down on a piece of paper in a drawer, but having your whole team know it. That's a whole different ballgame.
So you're saying that the core values actually take life, right?
Yeah.
Become a life part of the business.
Yep.
And you don't just talk about them once at orientation.
Exactly. Yeah. In the new building, we're going to have them painted all up on the wall. So they're going to be up there. So that's big. I would say just expanding your mindset. Like, it's really hard when you're starting because things are so scary. Everything's so new. You don't even know if you're going to succeed, and you're worried about a lot of things. But as soon as you can, hang around with people who are doing bigger things than you and better things than you, and always try to not be the smartest person in the room. Because I've been climbing levels and seeking new mentorship and new business coaches and new chiropractic coaches, and it's like there's all these levels that you just keep going to. And I look back 4 years ago and I'm like, holy cow, what a terrible vision. I thought I would be like limited here, and we've 10x'd all of that. And so and also just know that whatever you do, you're solving a problem, and there's people who need you, and you need to keep that mind frame too. Like a mind frame I like to operate from is like, hey, there's someone praying to find me right now, and they don't know I'm out there, and so we got to find them. And so that's another, I don't know, pet peeve of mine too. People will say, especially in like the chiropractic, oh, I don't need to market, I'm referral only, I just do this, I just do that. I'm like, that's great, we can be referral only too, but I could list 200 patients we've helped that would have never heard of us if we didn't do any marketing.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, how big is your vision to serve people and solve the problem that you're solving? Because that's all business is. It might not be with a health problem, of course. It can be with a million other things. So right now you're solving a problem for a bunch of entrepreneurs. So how big is your heart to serve? And just know business growth has to do with that. And the reason you put in the hard work and you put SOPs in is so that you can scale and serve more people. So once you get out of your head that it's about you and I don't know if I can do this and can I do it? It's not about you. It's about all the people who are looking for you right now and looking for your service that you can help. So,
and that is so true. And I love how you prefaced it all around. You have to want to help people. And when you're looking at whatever business you're starting or you've already started, go at it with how am I helping people? How am I helping businesses with this? What am I doing on a regular basis that at the end of the day is serving others? I mean, it's the greatest form of satisfaction we can get is serving others. And I love Zig Ziglar has a quote. I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit, but it's, you can get anything you want in life if you just help enough people get what they want.
That's exactly correct. Yeah.
And it's so true. Come at it from a heart of servanthood and looking at what am I doing to help people today. Now that does not mean that every customer you come across is right and gets everything that they want. Yeah. You still have to have it make sense, but at the end of the day,
don't give it away for free.
Yes, don't give it away for free. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with charging for your services and helping people with that. It's super. I mean, I wouldn't go into business if I couldn't charge somebody for it.
Exactly.
Same time, I have done pro bono work, and I enjoy that. But I do it with the idea that at the end of the day, helping others is going to help me succeed, and I just love helping people. So, You touched a little bit on having a coach. How important has that been, and what does that coach actually help you with?
Yeah, so I grew up as an athlete, and coaching is just something I need. Like it's a huge part of my life growing up as a competitive athlete, and so soon as I could kind of get in the realm of mentorship and coaching in the chiropractic space, and then I've even ventured a bit into just the pure business space outside of chiropractic, and instrumental. I mean, there's no way I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am. I mean, I owe it to all the mentors that I've had and coaches and things like that. So, I mean, it's huge. You got to find some type of mentor or coach or something to emulate. I will be the first to say I will gladly admit I am not an innovator. I look at what other people are doing, and I hear what other people are doing, or I see it, and I try to copy it and do it better. I mean, I try to improve upon it. I'm not someone who's going to come up with the newest thing that no one's ever done. It's like, hey, this works well. How can I improve it, make it better, make it more streamlined, get better results, whatever the case might be. But yeah, it's huge because nobody knows everything. You always get a different point of view. So I strongly recommend whatever profession you're in or whatever business, definitely go for that.
And I love what you're saying. I like to call it R&D, right? Mm-hmm. Rip off and duplicate.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's so much. Somebody's already done a lot of what you're doing, and you're bringing those uniques to the market, as we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, there's somebody who's had success in whatever you're looking at doing. Even if you're bringing a new product or service that's maybe entirely innovative, somebody has done something similar to what you're doing and can probably give you some ideas to help you overcome the hurdles. Because at the end of the day, business really isn't rocket science. There are certain principles in business that are consistent in every business, no matter what, 100% of the time. And that's where having a coach or a mentor can help you to overcome those. I remember listening to a podcast, and I can't remember the name of the podcast host now, but I'd listen to his podcast, and every time he's big on starting from zero and kind of working to whatever you're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And every time I'd listen to his podcast and I'd listen to him talk through with different business owners, the methods, it was always exactly the same.
Yeah.
He said exactly the same thing, just kind of, a different colored dress on, if you will, for what he was saying based on the industry. And so much of business is so simple. On that note, what's kind of one of those books, if you could leave our listeners here with an absolute must read as they're looking at getting started with their business, what book would you recommend and why?
Oh, hands down, Traction. Yeah.
By Gino Wickman, yep.
By Gino Wickman. I don't know if that's been said in the tub already, but hands down, you got to read Traction. EOS is the way to go. That was I read that probably 2.5 years ago, and that was just total game changer. That was when we really started to scale and move things in a better direction. So Traction.
And I think we have talked about it in the tub before. It's actually what I built my entire business coaching business off of, was Traction. Reading that book, going through the values, going through the vision, it's what actually helped me to catch my vision and my mission for what I'm doing now in business coaching based off of that book. And so many business owners miss these key things that are really there designed to say, okay, you want to talk standard operating procedures, you want to talk building a culture, you want to talk about how to create ways that you can actually grow and scale. That book is so important.
It is, yeah. And speaking of that, I mean, you can hire a coach like yourself to help implement those things. I mean, they have Traction implementers. I mean, so again, like hire someone to help you too. I mean, I talked to a few different people that have helped me basically integrate it into a chiropractic model. Because it's not that easy. You read the book and there's a lot in there, especially when you already are a functioning business. And I wish I would have started from scratch. It would have been a lot easier, but the more employees you have, I think when you read it, the tougher it's going to be to implement it. So reach out to John, reach out to somebody to get some help with that. I would highly recommend that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah. I wasn't fishing for the referral, but thank you. It's nice nonetheless.
No, it's important.
Is there anything else that you think you really want to leave our listeners off with as far as they're looking at getting started, that would be helpful for them?
It's a tough question. Okay, two things. One is never look at an employee as an expense. Okay, and these are coming from, I'm in the chiropractic world. Chiropractic is known for being like a mom and pop shop. There's not barely any big corporations in chiropractic, so it's very, one location. I'm the doctor, I own it. I have like maybe 2 employees. It's very, it's a very small business, right? And so coming out of that world, you hear, I don't want to hire an associate doctor because it's too expensive. I don't want to hire another employee because they're too expensive. If you have your business set up right, an employee makes you money.
Amen.
They make the company a profit. So an employee is an asset to your business. An employee is not an expense to your business. So never look at an employee as an expense. Look at them as an asset. That's what they are. They're amazing people. You should only hire amazing people that fit your core values, and they are an asset, and you should be able to pay them accordingly. So that's one thing. If you ever want to grow, you can't. You never want to stall yourself. Let me put it that way. And I did that at the beginning. I stalled myself on growth because I was scared to hire another employee. So that's a big thing I would say. And I would say the exact same thing about marketing. People look at ROI and all this stuff, and at the end of the day, if you're turning a profit off of any advertising campaign, you made a profit, right? If it's a 2-to-1 ROI, you just put $1 in, you got $2 back. As long as you need to calculate all these metrics, and you need to know what you're doing and calculate where the money's coming from and what you're allocating and what the real expense is. But if you're doing that, I've seen people, didn't get that good a return. I'm shooting for like 5-to-1, so I'm gonna cut that. I'm like, what? You just put $1 in and you got 2 back. Why would you stop doing that? And so that's another piece of advice. It doesn't need to be a home run every time. You just keep putting it out there, and then as long as you're seeing returns, test and tweak if you're not. But I want to say that too. So
I love that. I absolutely love that. So an employee is not an expense. Yep. It is an asset. And your marketing, as long as it's profitable, it's the right marketing for you, really, at the end of the day. I want to follow-up question on the employee side of things. Going back to the core values and employees, what do you do when you realize that there's an employee on the team who's not in line with your core values? And I'm also going to say employee and or customer that's not in line with your core values. What do you do with that?
Well, they're kind of two different things. Customer, hopefully you can just dismiss. Obviously, depends on what type of business you're in and how.
You mean you
works,
fire customers?
Yeah, you could definitely fire customers, and you can do it subtly, for sure.
Is there such thing as maybe somebody who's not your customer?
Of course, yeah. Not a good fit, and you can, and people appreciate that honesty. What's interesting, especially in what I do specifically, we'll have someone come in for a new patient appointment, and we're kind of trying to go through our process. We do a lot of testing, a lot of exams. We get a lot of data before we ever, touch anybody to do any type of treatment. And so it's like, can't you just lay me on the table and crack my back? And it's like, I could, but I won't. That's not what we do here. And so it's funny, you kind of say, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a proper exam. We're actually going to figure out what's wrong with you. We're going to figure out how we can fix it or if we can fix it. And then we'll come up with a game plan on how to do that. And so, it sounds like that may not be what you're looking for. So I'm happy to just, refund your first appointment money. That's no problem at all. And you can head elsewhere. We're happy to refer you out. Whoa. I didn't say that. I'll stay. So they, they'll quickly back off of that, which is kind of funny. But if it's employee, I think that's the bigger issue. You gotta be slow to hire, quick to fire. I mean, that's, if it's a core value issue, you're going to know that pretty quick. People will say whatever they need to say to get the job. I think everybody knows that. They'll put on whatever front. They'll say all the right things. So it's tough to kind of feed out those core values. That's why we have an extensive interview process. Our interview process takes like 6 weeks to get through, because we have like 5 different steps people have to go through. But that's because we don't want to make a mistake. So if they are not a core value fit, that's not going to change. People aren't going to just change their core values. If it's a skill set issue, you can train that.
Amen.
And be patient on that, because I've also have a couple people on my team that have the core values. Maybe they were a little slower getting up to speed, and it's been well worth it because they are amazing team members, and they're awesome people, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But if it's core value, that's not going to change. You just got to get rid of them quick.
Yeah. So it kind of comes down to, as you're looking at issues with employees, I always like to look at, is it a will or a skill, right? Skills, as Dr. Kyle talked about, you can train skills all the time. You can always be improving skills. It's really up to you as a business owner to come up with those standard operating procedures that are going to allow you to be able to train up the skills that you need to see in employees. And I love that you said, like, you'll be slow with that sometimes. Like, there really is, at the end of the day, if you have the right person who is the person that fits your core values and has that will to wade through the crap for a little bit with you, then the skills are going to be what's going to make them into a great employee for you. But if they don't have that will, and if they're not in alignment with your core values, it ain't going to change. I mean, it simply ain't going to change, and it's not good for you, and it's not good for the employee to continue to drag them along in an employment where they're just not a fit. And I know a lot of folks right now are scared because, you know, you look around, everywhere is hiring right now.
Yeah.
So many people are, I can't find the people, I can't find the people, I can't find the people. Would your advice be, maybe right now, should they make some adjustments and say, well, maybe it's not that important, and just hire those folks anyways, or hold out?
No, you want to hold out for the right person. You never want to hire out of desperation. As crazy there's some crazy situations where I just need a body in there. I mean, of course, depending on the business, if you just need someone to, I don't know, wash tires, I mean, that's a different thing, right? But if it's any customer facing position at all, I mean, you can't hire out of desperation. You need to be patient. All it's going to do is bite you in the long run. You're going to look back a year later and say, holy cow, what a huge mistake. I wish I would have just waited and found the right person, because instead I had the wrong person. I lost customers because of it. I lost my time. I stopped looking for the right person. I had to fire somebody. It was terrible. Just hold out and wait. I mean, I think we could do a whole nother session just on team and maintaining a good team and checking in with team, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, so maybe that's a conversation we'll have to have. And I will tell you, though, if you find those people, and I have hired so many people who weren't a good fit, especially before I got clear on core values and vision, when you hire those people, not only is it a problem for, you might lose customers, you might lose valuable, good employees. Because your valuable, good employees are going to hear what you say and watch what you do. And if those aren't in alignment, they're going to jet. They're going to jet. And they're not going to be a part of that team. And it could be somebody who really, at the end of the day, has that will, has that skill, is it the employee that you want, and they're leaving because you as a leader weren't leading and weren't tough enough on the areas that you need to be. So I appreciate you so much sharing that. Yeah. Last thing as we kind of wrap up here, is there any, for our local folks that maybe are in Traverse City, is there any offer that you want to extend to them that they can maybe take advantage of?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to call or email our office or anything and mention, TubPreneurs and say that you saw us on here, you can come in and we'll just do a comp first appointment for you, which is just an evaluation. So basically we'll run you through all of our testing, anything that's necessary for your case, any diagnostic x-rays, all that stuff. We can just run it through, see if you have any issues going on, whether you want to take care of them now or not, no worries, but you can at least get an evaluation and see how you stack up. So I'm happy to extend that offer if anyone wants to do that.
Awesome. And I would encourage you, TubPreneurs, if you live in the local Traverse City area, take Dr. Kyle up on that. You might be surprised with what you find. Dr. Kyle, thank you so much for coming out and sitting in the tub. Obviously, it's nice to be able to spend some more time with you. I've known Dr. Kyle, I think, pretty much since you came here.
Pretty much, yeah.
From the get-go. I know my wife was under care with Dr. Kyle for a while as well. He does a great job over there, has an amazing staff. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that. Next week, we're actually going to have Dr. Don Puchet on, who Dr. Kyle knows as well.
Great guy.
He's another chiropractor. He's going to actually be talking a little bit about how he started a local charity and some of the things around that are maybe a little different than business, But if you're looking at starting a charity or something, it's going to be amazing information. And even if you're not, there's so many things that are applicable to both business and starting a charity. So thank you, Dr. Kyle. I appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of the day.